What do you want from a family station wagon? I guess it should be roomy, efficient, safe. Let's see how does the refreshed Peugeot 508 SW stack up against the competition. For this sort of test, it's best to draw up a table to compare different values among the competitors. A table like this usually shows cars in a given segment are very similar to one another. So unless one of the manufacturer does something extraordinary, it's mostly up to the reviewers, viewers and buyers' subjective opinion. Here I'd like to add that I owned a Peugeot for 12 years. I sold it, but I have not been paid off by the Germans, like some of the internet trolls think. I drive a Japanese car these days. I compared the 508 Estate to Opel Insignia, Toyota Avensis, Mazda 6, new Ford Mondeo and the new Volkswagen Passat. Based on the table, the Passat wins and we can all go home. Okay, so the Passat is around 10-15% more expensive, but it still destroys my plan to explain what's good about the 508. Meanwhile, the Pug falls in my table down to the last position together with the Insignia. Why? As far as size goes, the 508 is average. Whatever it gains in one department, it loses in the other. It also has one of the largest turning circles, which makes it hard to maneuver. We'll get back to that later. As far as weight goes, the 508 is third from the end. Price-wise, it's not bad, but spec for spec, you'll find the differences are insignificant, especially when you're buying a car for 25,000 euros or more. Objectively, the boot is also in the middle at 518 liters with the seats raised and 1556 with the seats folded. On the plus side, there are levers in the boot, which you can pull to drop the backrests. There's also a 12-volt socket, hooks for your shopping, hooks for a net to secure the luggage. Under the floor, there is a full-size spare, which is standard in Poland, probably not in Western Europe. In the back, there is good headroom and legroom behind the driver's seat, which is set for 175 centimeters, as well as behind the passenger seat, which I moved further back. Interesting detail in the middle, the interior was designed by Polish designer Adam Bazydło. During the Polish launch event in early 2011, I spoke to him and he was rather pleased with this space under the center console in the back, where you can put your feet. In the front, Peugeot 508 unfortunately lacks simple but clever touches. Storage under the armrest is average, although there is another 12-volt socket in there. The glove box is chilled, and there is also a 12-volt socket in it, but it's so deep and far that you'll never reach it from the driver's side. In the middle there is another small storage space, but you won't fit a big smartphone in there. On the other hand, the car was launched in 2010 when iPhone 3GS was all the rage. But the worst part are the cup holders. The French, along with their Polish designer, probably remembered about them when the car was already signed off for production. Does this remind you of anything? Yep, BMW 5 Series E60. When the Germans understood their mistake, the French repeated it, and they made it even worse, because you have to force the can in there, and the one on the driver's side is too close to the wiper stalk. On the plus side, the radio and cruise control buttons are on the steering wheel. On the minus side, buttons for the sat-nav are too small and too low next to the aircon. You have to take your eyes off the road. On the road, the Peugeot 508 is a pleasant surprise, actually, compared to the new, not so new, and the, let's call them established players in the D segment. The Pug has its own style. There's something from the 405 in it, and, it's in a positive sense. The car is comfortable, it's not too hard and not too soft, not too aggressive. While many car manufacturers compete to make their family estate cars more sporty, Peugeot works to offer what its clients want, and that is comfort. Another pleasant surprise is the fuel consumption. Under the bonnet of this example is a classic, a 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel, 140 horsepower. The manufacturer claims it will use around 5 liters per 100 kilometers of diesel in combined cycle, and I'm easily getting around 6 liters, so that's good. This engine is over 15 years old, it underwent many modifications and it is considered to be fairly reliable. So if you service it regularly and don't put too much strain on it, you shouldn't run into many problems. The car is relatively quiet on the motorway, visibility is decent, but the head-up display could be slightly higher, and it doesn't help if I set the display to be slightly higher. I would just like the whole thing to be a bit higher. Speaking of the head-up display, to control it, to modify the settings, there's a set of buttons for that, and this set of buttons is in a little compartment down here by my left knee. This is a place where I would expect a little pocket for coins to be. You can change the colors of the display, but if you want to change the colors, brace yourselves, because this is going to take a while. The whole infotainment system has to reset, it goes blank, and it takes about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. The sat-nav is a bit old, and I also failed to pair my smartphone with the Peugeot apps. There is a whole system here that allows you to check information about traffic, about points of interest and such, but it probably requires your dealer to actually pair it with your phone, and in this car it hasn't been paired. If you like gadgets in your cars, like adaptive cruise control or a system that will park your car for you, well, that's something Peugeot doesn't have.
Speaking of parking, the reversing camera is mounted in such a way that registration plate takes up half of the screen. It's a double whammy at night because due to the contrast you see only the plate.
Prices of the Peugeot 508 SW start at around 26,000 euros. This test example with some extras costs around 30 grand. The biggest disadvantage and at the same time advantage of this car is what a plain Jane it is. If you're looking for the newest tech and gadgets, the 508 will disappoint. But if you want a tried and tested discreet car, this may be the car just for you.
Watch more of my reviews and subscribe to my channel. New reviews every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.